Howdy peeps, how's it going? I just wanted to show you a series of books that I've been collecting for the past couple months or so. This is originally a Japanese publication that has since then been brought over into North America. There has so far been about 30 books of these that have been published in Japan, but there's only about 16 that currently exist in North America. It started off as a magazine publication, but has since then taken a life of its own in novelization form. It can be best described as being a medieval fantasy horror, because it's sort of set in a medieval times, or sort of in a medieval universe, or European medieval universe, and it has monsters and it has fairies, but it also has like knights. As you can see here, it has like knights in shining armor and whatnot, and a lot of like castles and whatnot. And I have a fairy down here. I think the fairies. I think it's on the next page. But it's sort of like I said, a sort of a fantasy horror type thing. And it's centralized around the main character here. This is Guts. And he is best described as a mercenary turned demon hunter, because when we initially encounter this character, he's all dressed in black and he's all moody and whatnot. And he has like many different types of weapons here. Like he has this crossbow style weapon here that can shoot arrows at a very fast rate. His arm is a prosthetic that has a cannon mounted into it. But most notably, he has this one rather interesting weapon here. This huge ass freaking sword that is about as long as he is tall. He is a very tall person. I think he's about 7 feet tall. As you can see here, he's taking a good chop out of that guy. I'm just going to describe the sword here as it's written here. It was much too big to be called a sword. Massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Indeed, it was like a heap of raw iron. And that's basically the sword right there. It's huge, monstrous, and it is just huge, basically huge. And this is basically how we're initially introduced to the character. We don't right away know that much about him, apart from the fact that he's a bit of a mean-spirited person who likes to toss fairies around. A few books into the series, we get to see him fight his first truly majestically evil demon. This is fairly commonplace in this particular manga. He gets to fight all sorts of really evil-looking things, and that's basically the most that we get to learn of him initially. But then afterwards, after he actually beats the demon, he is thrusted into a strange alternate universe owned by a group of highly powerful demons called the God Hand. These are demons who basically like to cause trouble on Earth by giving demon powers to humans on Earth, the ones who really want it. And initially we don't know too much about the God Hand at first. We just know that one of them happens to be well known by the lead character. As we can see here, he basically belts out the name Griffith. And apparently Guts seems to know who this person is. We don't know why, but that's why after, I think towards the end of this book, we are introduced more to Guts' past. We then learn how he was born out of a dead mother's womb. As you can see here, all these people are basically hung up, and his baby self is still alive, despite the fact that all the dead people are surrounding him. And this is when we learn how he is basically adopted by a group of mercenaries, and how he just takes on the life as a mercenary, and how he actually, we'll take a few pages back, how this guy over here becomes sort of a father figure to him, and just basically how he grows up sort of wielding a sword that's always a bit too big for him. We then learn how the father attempts to murder Guts after getting a little bit drunk one night and blaming him for losing... Basically, he blames him for losing a leg during the war. Of course, Guts defends himself and ultimately stabs his dad in the neck, as we can see here. And that was a very pivotal part of Guts' life as a young boy who was forced to kill his mercenary... Not really his dad, it's sort of his father figure, I guess you could say. But this is sort of a pivotal part of his youth. His former mercenary buddies chase him out of his camp and basically leave him to survive by himself in the night, where he is abruptly attacked by wolves. And of course he has to fight off a whole bunch of wolves here, as you can see here. Years later, he gets into arena combat where he does really well, especially even against large opponents like this guy right here. While putting on a really good show, he is discovered by a group called the Band of the Hawk. And of course, we soon find out that the Band of the Hawk is led by a man by the name of Griffith, who, as we saw earlier, in the sort of the future tense, became a demon, was the one that became a demon, and thus we're able to make the connection between how Guts discovered, or how Guts became to know this guy. He is, after a few sparring matches here and there, he is soon accepted into the Band of the Hawk and would eventually become one of the generals, considering how big and tough a guy he is and how much Griffith likes him. And this is Griffith with his helmet taken off. As you can see, he's a sort of a semi-Bishoden type guy, but he also has a semi-Bishoden personality, considering that he develops an almost love affair for Guts, almost to the point of depending on him and basically just really liking the guy. This is Casca, and this is the lady that eventually becomes the love interest for Guts, but also gets involved in a love triangle between Griffith and Guts and herself. But she's actually one of the generals in the army, and she's sort of considered to be a sister among all the troops there, or at least that's what they refer to her as, his sister. With Guts as the general and Griffith as the leader, the Band of the Hawk were considered unstoppable. But what was the fate that would soon befall Griffith, and why would he eventually become the demon leader that he is in the future tense? Well, I guess we just have to read the book then, wouldn't we, and try and find out just more about Griffith's past, and find out more about how Guts became the mercenary turned demon hunter that he is. I'm still not far enough into the series to see the full ending of I've still not gotten quite to the end of the series yet. But you know, I'm still buying books. They're usually about between $60 and $20 each, and so roughly my entire series, of all the books I collect, are probably worth altogether about $250 because they're like that price. So anyways, it's a very good series of books if you're really into sort of this type of ultra-violence and stuff. And yeah, definitely check it out. If you can find sort of samples of it on the internet, by all means, take a look for it. And if anything, just buy the first book and check it out. So anyways, that's my first attempt at a book review. Hope it was a good book review. And chat with you guys later.